So let's just imagine that you're a marine biologist from, say, French Polynesia. And the question you're interested in is, how are our coral reefs going to change over the next 100 years as the ocean acidifies? You are most likely going to think about taking a traditional scientific approach, the way we're all trained, and try to isolate that variable from all the others, vary the pH or the PCO2 of your water while keeping everything else constant, and that's going to tell you what's going to happen to your reefs over the next 100 years, right? Well, not necessarily. Of course, there's a lot of other factors that are changing at the same time as PCO2 and pH. Things like warming, nutrients, salinity, stratification. There's a whole host of variables that are also changing at the same time. And you're probably, if you really want to know what's going to happen to your coral reef, you're going to have to also look at all those variables. In that case, you may consider doing what we call a scenario-based approach. So one approach, if you're really interested in a defined question, is to do a mechanistic experiment, such as, how's the calcification of your coral going to be affected by PCO2? In which case, you would set up an experiment to look at the mechanism of calcification under ocean acidification. You might measure calcification rate, you might measure expression of the genes that are involved in calcification, and you would understand a lot more about how calcification is affected by acidity. But that may not answer the question, especially if you're interested in management of the coral reefs. There's a lot more to it than just the calcification. You might want to design a scenario-based approach that incorporates all those other variables: warming, nutrients, salinity. You might want to put all those together in an experiment that will answer the question, how is my coral going to respond to the environment in the year 2100, rather than just the one variable, ocean acidification. Now that we've introduced you to the idea of a mechanistic approach versus a scenario-based approach, you're still not ready to go out and do an experiment. You need to think about the question you're asking and the best way to answer it. One thing that might help you do that, try watching the video by John Havenhand, where he talks about different experimental methods, ranging from very reductionist mechanistic experiments all the way up to scenario-based approaches. You also might want to watch Peter Dillingham's video, where he talks about what you're going to do with the data once you have it and how to handle and analyze your results. At that point, you may be ready to go forward and decide whether a mechanistic or a scenario-based approach is the best for the question that you have in mind.